Hello, Ricky Fleet. You okay?
Hello, Pauline. How are you?
I'm not too bad. It's Saturday, so it's always good. How's yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, just sort of sat here doing a bit of writing.
Oh, cool.
And
What are you currently working on at the moment?
I'm mixing across all three at the minute. I'm dipping in and out until something actually grabs me. So I'm doing a bit on Infernal, a bit on Devoured World, and a bit on Hellspawn. None of them have actually like grabbed me yet and
I
pulled me in
admit,
properly.
Infernal, I love, and Devoured World again. They to me as good as Hellspawn is. They're my absolute favourite. I think they're really, really good. But because obviously it's written undead, we'll start off. I just want to start off with a review for Hellspawn, just to give people an idea of how excellent the series is.
Okay.
It says, brilliant and flawlessly executed, ingenious in the idea and practice of skills to survive, one of the most enjoyable books I have read in years. You've got to be happy with
Thank you, whoever said that.
She had a really nice name. I do remember that. Okay, so if we just get stuck in with the questions.
Yeah, chuck them at me.
Okay. What attracted you to the genre you write in?
Well, for anybody that knows me, my stock in trade is apocalyptic. Zombies were my first inspiration in terms of Hellspawn, and then sort of any type of end of the world scenario has always been sort of fascinating to me. Before books, I'd watch films and all the other bits and pieces about nuclear war and the survival of the people that sort of come afterwards. But yeah, it's the apocalyptic genre as a whole, be it a plague, be it a zombie apocalypse, be it nuclear holocaust, and the outcome. It's about the end of the world and the coming together of people, the surviving against all odds. There's just something about it that it brings out the best and the worst in people. And I think in some ways it can bring out the best and the worst in the stories as well.
No, I think I absolutely agree. It brings out the best and worst in people, and the situation the world's currently living in at the moment has actually shown us that would be the case, isn't it?
Yeah, who'd have thought that fiction became current affairs?
Yes, I know. Just before I go to question number 2, can you see it? Can you see it?
That was a brilliant weekend. Yeah, I remember that. That was fantastic.
It was an excellent weekend, and I love the t-shirt. Lisa did an excellent job on them. Okay, question 2. What inspired the idea for the book?
You will know, being an aficionado of zombies, that there's very little time that you spend when you visit somewhere new or you're out and about, and you're constantly thinking, what if? What would I do? Is this place defensible? And Hellspawn basically came about from my passion years and years and years ago when I first saw Night of the Living Dead, the original black and white version that Romero did. And it kind of the original story that I didn't really think any further than the original Hellspawn book was, what would I do? How would I get home? What would I do in the first sort of few days should the dead rise? And basically it was that, it was set on my old housing estate where I used to live. It was set in the same terrace of houses that I used to live. And it was basically a blow by blow of what I would probably do, to hole up for the first few days. And then obviously the progression from there, spreading out across the south of England, came later. But yeah, it was my tribute to sort of George Romero, in terms of, he had their farmhouse, I've got my mid-terrace ex-council house. So
it was excellent. And tell you what, though, you are right. You think, oh, what would I actually do? And I bet you most of us never think that we just go crazy and buy toilet paper.
Yeah, out of all the things that we could have done, stocking up on Andrex quilted. After all this time, at least we know how to prepare now.
Well, that's it. We've never read that in a book, have we? So come on.
No.
Tell us a little about your story and the story world you created. Although I think you sort of feel this in the background of that then, but
yeah, I'll do a brief one because we've got quite a few questions. But Hellspawn, my first series, is basically told in the style of like mostly everyday people. There's aspects of like the remnants of the British Army, but for the most part, it's about, you know, everyday people, you know, and their fight for survival. The army kind of takes a peripheral part in the story. Some of the characters are quite key, but the action is not centered around like some of the like, Arisen series and some of the others, where it's all action in terms of, you know, army fighting. Devoured World is set in the 22nd century, late 22nd century, and it's a sci-fi futuristic weaponry mutant apocalypse story. You know, and it's just sort of balls to the wall crazy action. And Infernal, Infernal, you know, the way the world is at the minute is kind of, you know, looking at current events, but it's a story of evil people that want to sort of gain power for themselves, and they work in the background to usher in the end of days and release hell on earth.
Yeah, I love that whole storyline.
Malachi, obviously the gym bum hero who is a reluctant hero. You know, he's an orphan child, and he uncovers powers that. And I don't want to go too much into the story in case it's a bit of a spoiler, but as I say, it's about one guy and his sort of band of friends that he comes across trying to stop the denizens of hell from enslaving our world.
It's really, really good. Okay, question 4. What is your writing process like? Are you more of a plotter or a pantster?
I was originally a pantster, heavy pantster, and up until probably Hellspawn Sentinel, it was just what was coming in my head at the time. When I got to Requiem and sort of later books and Devoured World and Infernal series, I put a rough plot together of, you know, the various groups, what I want from them in the next book, where they're going to go, what they're going to do, how they're going to interact. But it takes up about a page and a half on Word, and that is basically my plotting. I don't go any deeper than that, in so much as they kind of find their own way as the story develops. I give them a start point and an end point, and they find their own way there.
Excellent. Question 5. Do you try to be more original, or do you just deliver what the readers want?
That's another good one. As you spend more time in the writing genre, and you discover sort of like writing aids and groups like 20 books to 50k, which give you sort of a lot of information. There's what's known as right to market, whereby your story is created to hit certain tropes and the other bits and pieces. My entire ethos is, once I've finished Hellspawn, it was basically write books that I am interested in reading. So if at any point a storyline kind of gets a bit stale, I'll revisit it and change it up, because at the end of the day, it's got to be interesting for the readers. But Hellspawn, as I say, at the time, it was sort of more original in terms of, you know, we've got no guns, what are we going to do? Devoured World, it was geared more towards what do I think readers would like, but also what I would enjoy. And Infernal, the same thing, really. You know, I've taken a lot of, what would I say, influence from sort of like horror related and hell related books and films and all the other bits and pieces, and kind of put my own twist on the whole thing. But yeah, as I say, I try and keep it original, interesting, because if I'm bored writing it won't work, it won't flow.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Question 6. What do you do to get inside your characters' heads?
I'm quite lucky in a way that I'm a bit of a people watcher anyway. I'm quite good at judging people. I can get a read on people, and I watch what they do and how they act. And, you know, being that I work as a teacher in an office, I see all the different personalities and all this, that, and the other. But I think, well, I like to think, you know, that the characters tend to kind of, you know, they're well fleshed out. But basically, I don't find it difficult. You know, like Kurt, the main character, obviously, is a plumber, so just sort of default to my own head.
Yeah.
I've got some, you know, good friends like yourself, you know, that I can call on for advice, and beta readers who will guide me if as I'm writing the sort of like women characters, whether it's reading as genuine. But I've never really had an issue, you know, be it the nastier people in the book or the nicer people in the book. I think I find it quite easy to look at where they're coming from and then write accordingly.
No.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It really does. Got some questions now. I've got a question from Jocelyn. Do you know instinctively when a character has run its course?
That's a good one. That's difficult to answer. I've kind of got myself in the rut to some degree that The Walking Dead did, in so much as the characters, some of which have become unkillable. There will be deaths coming in all the books, but it's, if I'm honest, no, I don't really have an end point for them. The danger occurs, and then I kind of see if a character would survive it, or whether they wouldn't survive it, and then take it from there. I don't really plot, you know, say for instance, Hellspawn, Kurt will die at X point. It's organically growing, and people will perish when they need to. It's not a, but on the answer of whether it's run its course, if a character starts to get stale, I will probably create something catastrophic to end them. You know, because they'll need to go, and they will go in dramatic fashion.
Good. If you're going to go dramatically.
Absolutely.
Right. You've got another question, this time from James. Who's your favourite character and why? And who's your least favourite and also why?
I think favourite's going to be Winston, simply because I see a lot of myself in Winston. The awkwardness, the shyness, you know, never really done very well at school in terms of sort of social interaction. And, you know, you kind of, he hides his issues with humour and, you know, a well-placed pun. And that kind of, you know, I put a lot of myself into Winston, so to speak. But least favourite is, and I think it's probably uniform across everyone, is Debbie. She's just a toxic, sociopathic, horrible, nasty piece of work. But unfortunately, we all know people like that, and yeah, there are.
Yes.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we all know people like that, and I try to write her as authentically as possible, and she does stir up some strong feelings of hatred in the readers.
Yeah, I mean, that you're probably right, because Winston has probably got a spot in everybody's heart. He's just adorable, and then you see that with the likes of Debbie in the same book, and you're like, geez, and they're so chalk and cheese as characters, but that they are excellent. And if you haven't read Hellspawn, I would urge anybody who's watching this to pick it up, because you will fall in love with Winston, and you will boo and hiss at the pantomime villain that is Debbie. Definitely. Question number 9. Do you censor a character?
In swearing, no. But I mean, I've had a couple of comments about the amount of F's and some of the C's in the books, but in terms of language, no. I mean, I come from a trade background, and pretty much our
Every other word is,
F is every second word. We communicate with swear words. So I've probably gone a little bit OTT with that. But what I probably do censor in some ways is, you know, you tread carefully around current events and all the other bits and pieces that are going on. You don't have a choice. The introduction of the gypsies and travellers in Dominion, I've got a bit of pushback on that, but it's just a sensitive topic, and as I say, you know, it is what it is. So I've probably I'll probably censor my stories in terms of the, you know, current events more than I censor a character.
So crazy, it really is. It really is.
Yeah,
Question.
I mean, you know, it's just the way of the world, and we as creators, we've got to kind of just tread around them
I
and just be
know, but
careful.
sometimes if you censor a storyline or you don't say it as it really is, it can actually detract from the book that you're trying to create, can't it? And I don't know,
Yeah,
I do actually genuinely feel for you guys, and you, as you say, you've got to tread such a fine line between offence and telling a story, haven't you? So it's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. You don't want to upset any readers. You want to appeal to the widest possible audience. So
Yeah, but I'm sure you're not. Nobody sets out to upset a reader ever. I would not have thought so. You know,
no,
and you know, I'm not sitting here going, oh, you made a woman toxic and she's the worst character. And you're what is it? You know, you're misogynistic. It's just who that character is. She could be male or female. She's a toxic
yeah, yeah,
person. Yeah. Okay. Do you dream of future storylines?
yeah. I mean, I think there's probably a question further down, but everyone that knows me and has known me for any length of time, my ideas come from nightmares and dreams, just in general.
Wow.
Um, I've suffered with vivid nightmares ever since I can remember. You know, since I was old enough to think and stand up. But a lot of the stuff does come to me. I will occasionally wake up in the middle of the night and jot a couple of notes down on my phone just to remember a particular scene, or you know, there's some things that are coming up in Hellspawn that came to me in a dream a few books down the line. But it you know, as I'm going through the dream, it's not. I know that I'm in a dream, and I'm actually sort of taking notes as I'm looking around and seeing what's going on. So, and once Infernal as well. Infernal came to me in a dream as well. So, whatever I'm eating, whatever I'm drinking, I'm going to keep eating and drinking it, because that's nightmare fuel.
That's where you get your best ideas from. Okay.
Absolutely.
Number 11. What was the hardest scene that you had to write? You know, what's affected Ricky Fleet, the person?
As pathetic as it is, the Winston scrapyard scene with the starving pup.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really done me. I shed a few tears as I was writing that, you know, because I'm a dog lover anyway, and
Yeah.
you know, one of the main rules is you don't kill the animals. But
No.
this was unfortunately a trapped sort of a trapped guard dog that was beyond talking to. And yeah, the guard dog in the Winston scrapyard scene has got to be the most horrible. Didn't like that. Didn't enjoy it at all.
He's absolutely adorable. Question 12. What is the most valuable piece of advice you've ever been given about writing?
I was lucky enough when I first started out. I was able to contact people like Sean Chesa, Mike Evans, and a few of the other, you know, people that were well entrenched in the genre, and they basically said writing is a marathon, not a sprint.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, overnight success is all but guaranteed not to happen. You've got to put in the hours, you've got to put in the grind and build up your base. And yeah, that's kind of what I've stuck with ever since. Just keep plodding away, and yeah, treat it as a marathon, long-term game, rather than, you know, wanting £1 million trillion instantly. I know it'll come with time. You know, hopefully it won't change me though.
I'm sure that they will. Okay. What aspects of your creative process do you enjoy most, and which are the most challenging?
I love creating the storylines and the worlds and the events that occur. That's the most enjoyable part for me. Things like Devoured World and Infernal, you're a lot less constrained by the overall storyline in Hellspawn, and you know, I can create different worlds, I can create different characters in different settings, I can create different demons, I can create different mutants and different variants of that. You know, the battlecraft of the Sovereign Guard, you know, the aircraft, the mechs, the Titans. It's that part I love. The most challenging is finding names for people. I'm absolutely
Really?
awful with names. Yeah, every time I create a character name, I Google surnames, and then yeah, that one I do, and I'll pick a surname. I'm absolutely
Really?
terrible with picking names. It's why I tend to put so many people that I know in the stories, because it just
I know.
saves me having to Google it.
No, I agree, but I love that. I'm not saying it because obviously you have included me at one time. I'm actually saying it because instantly I picture that person.
Yeah,
So I can see that person straight away in my mind's eye. I'm straight away know the character where that person's going to go. So
yeah.
me, I really enjoy that. Okay, we've got another question from James. How do you research technology and the weapons for your stories?
This is one of the slightly more difficult things in terms of I've not served in the armed forces, so it's basically a lot of YouTube videos, watching a lot of squaddies do their thing, a lot of squaddies doing their training. Some of my family are in the forces, and I thank them every day for their service. So I don't hassle them too much because they've got their own lives to lead, but they help me with research. But in terms of things like the technology that's sort of slowly coming into play in Devoured World, all that's from sort of random, sort of like fantasy science groups, all space travel and things like that, stuff that's coming up. I've got an archive of plausible, almost impossible technology. It's crazy, but it might just be feasible, and that's kind of what's going to be brought in. But guns and stuff, most people that read my work know that I don't go into a great deal of detail with the different calibers and all the different styles. One, because I don't know enough about them to make it authentic, and two, I think sometimes if I explain, every aspect of a
Yeah,
particular rifle that the army is using, it'll
yeah,
probably be a bit boring.
yeah.
So
I must admit, as a female, I mean, I'm not again generalising, but I would be like, oh, boring. If you went
yeah,
into this gun can do this, just fucking shoot it. That's
yeah,
all we want to know is you can shoot the gun.
point and
Okay.
pew, point and pew.
Right, got a question from David. Has feedback from reviews or your Facebook group ever changed the course of a character, i.e., someone you planned on killing, but he was proven or she was proven popular character, so you changed the storyline?
Easy answer, no. I don't let anyone. I mean, the one thing that I have been told is if I kill Honey in Hellspawn, I'm getting hurt badly.
Yeah. Yes.
Um,
Never
yeah,
harm them.
I've been forewarned that if anything happens to the dog, I'm getting miseried and I'm getting tied to a bed and I'm getting hobbled.
Absolutely.
But I do take on board people that that say, oh, they like this character, they don't like that character, but they've all got their own unique life to lead within the story. Unless something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry, carry on, Paulie.
You don't like everybody in real life, so you've got to have characters that you dislike because they're going to do the things that the characters you like wouldn't do.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. But no,
yeah.
in terms of affecting it, no, they kind of the characters do their own thing and they come to their own end when the time is right, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Do you read your book reviews? And, how do you deal with the bad or the good ones?
I've been told not to read them ever, but I'm human, and we do.
Absolutely. Yes.
My first 1-star review crushed me because it didn't give any advice other than spoiling the entire story from page 1 to the end of the book. Every scene was spoiled throughout the review, and that put me in a funk for a long time, because I try, I'm quite a friendly guy, and to
Yeah.
trigger a reaction like that out of someone with my work, where they've gone out of their way to not give advice, but this happens and that's crap, this happens and that's crap, this happens and that's crap, It's like, dude, what's your malfunction? But now, you know, it is what it is. I can't please everyone. He got something out of spoiling the story, so
Ah,
be it. As I say, it really did affect me in terms of, you know, anybody coming into it, there's going to be no question marks for the entire read now. Anybody that's read it, they know exactly what's going to happen. If it
as
was
a reader, I
advice,
enjoyed it.
yeah, if it was
Yeah,
advice,
constructive
yeah.
criticism.
That
Yeah.
that is absolutely blinding. I welcome that, you know, as someone that's trying to sort of break into it big time. I welcome that, but just that spike was, it was unexpected. But yeah, no, bad reviews now. It is what it is. I know what
Right.
people are like now, so
I think the problem is, again, it's like opening the extra box on your Facebook, isn't it? The extra messenger box and thinking, I should never open that. Um,
no, leave that alone.
Leave that alone. You poor guys and girls, obviously, you just need a troll, and that's it then. You
Yeah,
are pursued relentlessly. And that guy who's done that, that could be somebody that you know who's just doesn't like it, is a bit jealous, and Amazon won't, you know, they won't respond to help you. I mean, that's actually, honestly, hearing you say that, that's truly awful. And I hope everybody who sits and writes them reviews goes and takes a look in the fucking mirror tonight. Honestly, I do. That's truly awful. That
yeah,
it actually affected you so much that it put you in a funk.
yeah. It's a cruel world, and when you put yourself and your work out there, you're going to expect some pushback. But
I know, but
you develop a thicker skin over time.
I know, but I've said this to somebody else. When you put a book out, it's essentially your baby,
Yeah,
isn't it? You've worked months on it, you took hours over it, you've ignored family because of it, and then you put it
I
out
do
because
that anyway.
well, yeah, don't we all? You do that because you want everybody to see this book. It's like somebody coming along and saying, "Oh, your child's ugly," and I don't get it. If you've got nothing nice to say, just don't say it. I know you've got to, unless it's constructive. I'm not. I ignore them reviews anyway because I just think
Yeah,
that the mean spirited and there's no need for them at all. It
yeah.
really isn't.
It is one of the hardest parts of it, but as I say, over time you do develop a thicker skin.
No, no need. Okay, what do you know now that you wish you had known at the beginning of your writing stroke publishing journey?
First thing that I wish I had done is write and complete all 3 series and then release them,
Really?
because the difficulty is, and you know, you know some of the other guys, it's finding time to actually keep up with the schedule. And
Yeah.
when I went from Hellspawn to Infernal, I doubled effectively the amount of books I needed to put out. Then stupidly I thought, let's do Devoured World as well, and I've now trebled the amount of series that I've got on the go, and then trying to juggle them back and forth. So what I would probably go back and kick my backside and do differently is I'd complete the series no matter how long it took, so that at least they're done. But on the other side of that, I think being out there and speaking to people has kind of guided the series in some way.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to balance because I can't put them out frequently enough at the moment. I constantly beat myself up about that, which is a you know, a
You
bane of
really,
its own.
no, I know, but you really, really shouldn't. Okay, we've got a question from Helen. And this is one hell of a question. It goes on for quite a while, so please forgive me.
Okay.
Helen, is Kurt really you? Which of your characters would you like to be in real life, and why? Do you have a fan group, and what is it called? Where can I get your books? Which is your favourite review of any of your books? I hear you dream stroke nightmare ideas. How does that work for you? Do you have a lot of fangirls or groupies?
Okay, we'll go through that one bit at a time.
I love Helen though. She's
Oh,
so
she's
good.
absolute treasure. Love Helen. Thank you for the question, Helen.
Questions?
Question, yeah, multiple of. Kurt, is Kurt really me? Yes, in so much as that is how I would picture myself in both career and hopefully my reaction in the outbreak. As he develops through the books, possibly diverges a little bit, and then Winston becomes me. Which character would I like to meet in real life and why? Eddie, so I can push her into traffic. Horrible bin. Do I have a fan group, and what is it called? It's called Hellspawn Ricky Fleet on Facebook. I'm on Facebook with my author page and my personal page and Hellspawn, and I'm on Twitter, but I don't go on there too much because it's a horrible toxic place. But hey, where can I get your books? Only Amazon. I'm not wide in terms of distribution through like Barnes and Noble, because Amazon, they're such a powerhouse. You go where the business is. So I'm only on Amazon, Kindle. Not too many audiobooks yet, but hopefully that will change at some point. Favorite review? Oh, that's a difficult one, because I haven't really anyone that we can say the ones that give me loads of praise, but those, you know, I love those, but praise with a bit of input and guidance in it as well. Like we were saying earlier, a bit of constructive criticism. Those are the best ones, because I can take that little nugget and I can then use that to make something better on the next one. So I would say any reviews that give me constructive feedback that I can use to make better stories. I've kind of answered the Dream Nightmares, Helen, so I hope you don't mind if I skip over that one. Do I have a lot of fangirls or groupies? Nah, not really. No. Yeah, I've got the Fleety Sweeties, so I
was going to say, I beg to differ, I've got the t-shirts.
Yeah, I'm honoured to call you all my friends and fans. That really does mean the world to me.
I know, do you know what? Honestly, as you say, that literally when we all met, I felt so sorry for everybody else, because you had like a team of women around the table, all wearing your t-shirts.
Yeah.
Never had anybody stop at them, and I was like, oh my god! I can remember little Freedom. We were walking around together and we were saying, oh, let's just stop here for 5 seconds, because nobody stopped at this guy's stall. So you do have a lot of people who actually would come up the way to support you. So that's
it was brilliant. I got a lot of not sly comments, that's the wrong word, but I got a lot of mentions from the other sort of vendors at there. Are they your friends? Are they your friends? Like, yeah, they're the ones that read my books, and they were blown away. They were absolutely blown away, because I don't think they'd ever seen anything like it before. It was awesome.
That's brilliant. Right, I've got a question from Christina. You have excellently developed characters. Any plans for delving even deeper into them so that the readers can get even more into them?
Yeah, I know the reason for this question, because she's my publisher, and I'm currently working on a little bit of a, I would say treat, but that sounds a bit arrogant. But Paige was one of the integral characters at the beginning books, and it turns out she started to write a journal, and I've now started putting journal entries together for Winston, Braden, Kurt, Sam, Gloria, and all the core people, Peter, and all the others.
That's a great idea. I like that.
I'm going to be sort of releasing sort of once every few weeks or once a month. I might even try and tie it to a newsletter. But basically the inner thoughts of the characters that aren't on the page, you know, delve a little bit more into their personal history.
That's a great idea.
So yeah, that's basically where that's come from. And yeah, there are some personal journal entries that are going to just give a little bit more padding to the book and give them a little bit more insight into what they felt about certain events, things like that. Yeah,
but don't release them for free. You know, don't newsletter them. At the end of the day, it's taking your time up. Bang them on at 99 pence or something silly, but people will follow the story. Will lap that up. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Question 20. What books did you actually grow up reading?
All the greats. I was lucky. I got my passion for horror from Mum, and she was part. I don't know whether you remember it. I don't know if you're old enough, but it used to be some. I forget the name of it, but we used to get a book delivered every month. It was you signed up to this book delivery system in the back of a magazine or the back of a newspaper, and you would get like the latest release horror.
Oh God, yeah.
I
I'm
can't for
old
the
and
life of
used
me
to
think.
go there, but yeah, I'm trying to. Oh, what was that called? You are so correct.
Yeah,
That's the first time I've remembered that.
I can't
Jeez,
remember what it is, but I remember every time that used to hit, you know, get delivered, I was over the moon.
yeah,
And it, you know, it was people like, you know, I'd
yeah,
never heard of sort of authors like that before, but it was Dean Koontz, it was James Herbert, it was Stephen King, it was
yeah.
Brian Lumley, you know, it was Stephen Laws,
Wow.
you know, Richard Lehman, you know, the first ones that he brought out. All of those, I was so lucky in that, you know, the first book I ever found on my, you know, that I pinched from my mum's bedside table was Salem's Lot. That was before
Right.
I started looking forward to the, you know, the packages dropping through. But it
Wow.
had, I forget the name of the bloody vampire now. Striker, something like that. But
I just.
I can never forget the picture. It was the head vampire with his twin fangs, and the trail of dead townsfolk just, you know, vampirized,
Yeah.
trailing away into the blackness of the cover. And yeah, from then, and the books that delivered, you know, were delivered monthly from then on, it, you know, all of those greats, you know, have really sort of given me a
Yeah.
passion for it.
But at what point? I mean, this isn't a question. Again, it's just. What point did you think, you know what, I've got a story to tell? Because you've read all these books. Did they inspire you to become a writer, or is that just something one day you thought, you know what, I'm going to put my own story on the paper?
Yeah, I think a lot of writers will tell you that the stories that they've got trapped inside their head need some way of getting out.
Mm.
You know, some people will tell them verbally, some people will make a film about it, but my easiest way of putting the jumbled, garbled thoughts inside my mind down is through paper. And yeah, as I say, to be honest, I'd never in a million years imagined that anyone would even be interested in reading the stuff that comes out of my head. But I was lucky enough that I put out the first few chapters of Hellspawn on a couple of the Facebook zombie groups.
Yeah.
And the feedback was really good. They said, you know, just keep us posted. Let us know what, you know, when the next bit comes out. And then, yeah, I let it rip. I was never under any illusions, you know, that I was going to make it big, but I needed to get the stories out, and that's just continued.
Well, we're all grateful that you did. Absolutely. Okay. What are your favourite series or series authors?
Okay. I've got a lot of favourites in terms of indies because of the support that I've received at various stages. Obviously, Richard Raymond Hayward at the beginning,
Yeah,
he was
absolutely.
a diamond in terms of sparing time out of his busy schedule.
He is a diamond.
Give me advice when he didn't need to. You know, he wasn't under no obligation, but he was lovely enough to do it. And not only did he give me advice, he gave me support, he gave me a push, and I'll be forever grateful to him for that.
Oh,
And then
that's
others like Tufo, you know, Mark
yeah.
Tufo, Sean Chesa, they've all shared time and advice when I was first getting out there. But I think in terms of indie authors, every single one of them is an absolute diamond.
Yeah.
You know, they're so supportive. But trad published, it's got to be Brian Lumley and the Necroscope Vampire World series. I've read them. Oh my God, you're missing out. Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Yeah, I'm all. I interviewed Chris Harris the other night, and he recommended a book, and then Chris Patterson emailed and said, "Read that book. It's amazing." That Chris said. So I'm now going to add your series to that as well. So
yeah. As I say,
so
it's 13 books. Two of which I didn't really get on with. Two of them are kind of like infill for a certain period in the main character's life, a guy called Harry Keogh.
right.
But it's vampires, and they are the most vile type of vampire you'll ever meet, and it spans different worlds. And yeah, I've read it to the point
What
they're
are they
all
called again? Sorry. What are they called?
Necroscope, and halfway through it changes
Okay.
over to the Vampire World series.
I'll try that. So they're not
Yeah.
they're not the pathetic Twilight twinkly.
Oh no, these are vile. They make, you know, they've got thralls, their slaves get treated abysmally. That, you know, it is horrifically violent. It begins sort of at the time of the Cold War with Russia and sort of British intelligence, and it just goes on from there. And as I say, absolutely love them.
Sounds excellent. So I will definitely look them up after this. Okay, you got a question from the lovely Debs. Who is going to star in the Netflix series?
I won't do too many characters, but I've kind of thought about a few of them. Kate Beckinsale is going to be Sarah, because I've always had a thing for Kate Beckinsale anyway.
Really?
Roll your eyes, but, yeah. Kurt, an English accented Colin Farrell. I like Colin Farrell. I think he's highly underrated.
He is actually.
Sam is, because he's quite weak and dweeby in some ways, as the story sort of opens, is Noah Schnapp he's Will from Stranger Things.
I've not seen that, so.
No. He's like a sort of mousy kind of kid that gets taken to the underworld. Braden, a younger Jamie Bell. He kind of.
Big enough?
Is he, sorry?
Is he big enough? You know,
yeah.
tough enough?
Yeah,
because Braden's quite a damaged.
Yeah, he's the only one that I could really think of. There's probably a better person to play him, but like you say, his psychological flaws are something that would need to be captured properly. But and then obviously Gloria, it can only be Helen Mirren.
Yeah, she'd be excellent. Yeah, she would be really, really good. Yeah, she's so
Gloria.
Cool. Yeah, she is so cool. But you are right. I mean, the characters. I mean, I'd love to see you play Winston. Because
I've not really given much thought to him. I think Jonah Hill, but obviously Jonah's way too old. And I've racked my brain about someone younger who could pull it off. And I'm blank, to be honest with you. I've not been able to fill his role with anyone. Yeah,
I mean, again, you may remember or not, or you may be too young. It's Grange Hill from the UK series. Do you remember the guy with the glasses and the overweight kid in Grange Hill?
I remember the music. I can't ever get that tune out of my head.
All right, you're a bit younger. That's who I see every time I think of Winston, but I do think he's one of your best characters. Okay, last question. And it's from Joan. Do you have any ideas? Oh, excuse me, can't say it properly. Do you have any ideas in your head or from your dreams to write something as a kind of a backdrop?
Yeah, I've got a sort of like a separate drive on the computer with loads of short story ideas, and they range from absolutely every different type of thing, from Japanese gangsters and triads with weird sort of incantations and dolls and rituals and stuff, to all other things. But Halloween, obviously, being we're horror lovers, Halloween's our sort of favourite time of year. And you know, with all the witchcraft and all the other bits and pieces, so I've got a lot of ideas, but I don't have the time to do them.
The rest of ideas,
it's my time spent on the 3 core series. Other than when a sort of request for a short story comes in for a charity anthology or something like that. But I will be doing, you know, short story collections at some point, but not for a while. So I've got Halloween stuff, but not yet.
Good. I mean, that is it. I mean, I've got to say, as we're drawing to an end now, is Winston is one of my favourite characters, but the AI character that you created in Devoured World, I absolutely love him. He's just, I mean, I want to sit here and go, please don't make him a baddie, but at the same time, I can't. You've got to let your story run as it is. But he's so good. He's like your best friend. You just you just want to root for him, don't you? He's almost like Pinocchio. You want him to become
a real boy.
That's exactly how you've made him.
No, G just is Mr. G, as he's known to the higher powers of the sort of like Divinity Alliance. Yeah, he
Oh, so funny.
just allows me to go absolutely nuts. He's, you know, he's young. He doesn't, you know, he doesn't really understand things. He's sassy because he's got part of Tamsin's, you know, and her influences across her life. You know, her sort of late husband and all that kind of thing. But he's got his own personality that, yeah.
Honestly,
Great fun.
I love reading him. I mean, in the last Devoured Whale book, which again was excellent, he creates the space around himself, and he's like an awkward guy, but then he's like a clever guy, and he's brilliant. He's up there with Winston for me, definitely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's been lovely to talk to you.
Likewise. Thank you for doing it.
No, you're more than welcome, and it's been lovely to get my Sweeties t-shirt back out again. Do you think you'll do another one of them in the future?
At some point, I definitely will do.
I mean,
cool. When was Birmingham? 3 years ago? 3 years ago, perhaps?
Do you know what? I think you're right. I think it was 3 years ago, at least.
Yeah.
It was excellent, and the girls that I stayed with, brilliant, and we had a great time. But it was certainly an eye opener. I mean, I've never ever been to a Comic-Con before.
Yeah.
That was a HorrorCon, was it?
Yeah, that was my first one as well.
Yeah, and the people were amazing. We really, I mean, obviously we love supporting yourself, and then a lot of people came along a bit later on in the afternoon, didn't they? And we met, you know, a lot of people, and we had a really good time. But I can remember we came down in the lift. I don't know if everybody else remembers it. We were coming down to see you again, and people were dressing up so realistically. And a guy, we opened the lift doors opened, and it was a ding, and the guy standing outside it had I don't know if you've seen the movie It or read the book It.
Yeah.
Do you remember the little child who has his arm ripped off?
Yeah.
And this Georgie, he had no arm, really, so he decided to put a Macintosh on and like rip it open and put blood at the end of his arm, and the yellow hat and a red balloon, and it was when the door first opened, it was one of them, fucking hell.
I didn't see him. I'm gutted. I would have loved to see him. I missed that completely.
And you're like, you know, round of applause for that costume, because that's an excellent way of dealing with things. And we were shocked. We were standing outside watching them all walk in, and you're like, oh. But then we obviously got to your table, and we really enjoyed our day. It was excellent.
Yeah. No, it was an absolute honour to spend time with you. Absolutely brilliant weekend. Loved it.
Loved it. Absolutely. We really did, didn't we? But no, it's been lovely to speak to you, and I hope to speak to you again soon.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you, Pauline. Cheers for that. Take care now.
Bye.